The Galactic High Council's chamber was carved from obsidian harvested from a neutron star. The air was sterile, silent, humming faintly with energy shields that kept the diverse atmospheres of its delegates from mixing. On a raised dais in the center, Archduke Zelrath of Virex Prime towered above them all, clad in ceremonial armor of platinum and light. Admiral Celine Voss stood alone, the lone representative from Earth. No guards, no entourage, just her dark blue Terran uniform, a silver leaf on the collar, and eyes like polished steel. She stood still under the Empire's condescending gaze. Around her, the whispers of 100 alien species bounced like echoes through glass. "Terran," Zelrath said, his voice a low growl. Each word dragged through his jagged translator implant. "Your kind was warned." Celine didn't flinch. "We haven't violated any Concord laws. You've manufactured weapons beyond your designation. You've activated forbidden precursor sites. And you've refused inspection of your deep core facilities. All signs of rebellion." Celine lifted her chin. "We've defended our sovereignty. That's not rebellion. That's survival." Zelrath bared his teeth, sharp, ceremonial, augmented to impress. "Survival is granted, not earned. You will submit to a full systems audit. Every fleet asset, every research node, or the Outer Dominion Armada will enforce compliance. Final offer." Silence stretched. Celine took one step forward. "Your empire has always looked down on humanity. But you forget, we learn fast. That was all." She turned and walked out without asking permission. The other delegates watched unreadable. But Zelrath's eyes followed her until the chamber doors sealed shut. Back on Earth, a storm rolled over Geneva. The council chamber's thick glass walls flickered with lightning as Celine debriefed the assembly. "The blockade starts in 72 hours, she said, voice clipped precise. "They'll hit our orbital stations, quarantine our trade routes, and demand full compliance. If we blink, they'll make us a vassal planet. Permanently." President Imani leaned forward. "Can we stop them?" Celine nodded once. "We already have." The room went still. Senator Malik arched a brow. "You're activating Project Threshold?" "I already did," Celine replied. 2 days ago." Gasps, whispers, a few startled curses. "Admiral," Imani said slowly, "that technology is still unpredictable, dangerous, experimental," Celine finished. "Yes, but it works, and it's ours. The Empire thinks we still rely on sublight fleets. Let them." That night, Celine stood in a secure elevator descending beneath the Antarctic ice shelf. The lights dimmed as the car dropped a kilometer into the Earth's crust. She stepped out into a vast underground hangar, silent, glowing faintly with alien blue veins carved into the walls. At the center of the chamber hovered the precursor core, a shimmering, levitating construct that pulsed with energy outside of known physics. Dozens of Terran engineers worked quietly, reverently around it. Captain Wren approached her, flanked by 2 tech officers. "Jump coils are aligned. Fleet modules are cycling clean. First wave is prepped for vector lock. Is the Dauntless ready?" Wren grinned. "Waiting for you, Admiral." The TAS Dauntless was humanity's new flagship, sleek, obsidian-hulled, covered in pulse array nodes, and shaped like a shark crossed with a dagger. It hadn't traveled a single light year in the conventional sense, but in simulations, it had appeared in 9 places simultaneously. The secret? Fold Halo teleportation, a system reverse-engineered from the ancient alien array buried under Earth's polar cap. Celine stepped aboard. The bridge was clean dim-lit, manned by officers trained for a kind of warfare no species in the galaxy had ever seen. "Status," she said, sliding into the command chair. "Fleet 1 holding at Lunar Shadow," Wren reported. "Fleet 2 in cold orbit above Ganymede. Fleet 3 just phased to solar side of Neptune. All dark, all masked. And the Empire? Outer Dominion Armada crossed Proxima Gate 20 hours ago. 77 ships. Standard loadouts. No counter-telemetry. Celine nodded. Good. Let them think we're still watching through telescopes. In orbit above Earth, older Terran satellites blinked in distress. Massive warp rifts opened one by one as the Empire's blockade fleet arrived. Their vessels were behemoths, crimson, gold, edged in ceremonial armor, bristling with plasma cannons and gravity lances. And smug. On board the Imperial warcruiser Spine of Justice, Zelrath watched Earth rotate below like a patient under glass. His aides delivered reports of no movement, no resistance, no retaliation. Pathetic, he muttered. This will be over in a week. Down below, Celine studied the enemy's formation. Red holograms floated above the table, each enemy ship marked and catalogued. She pressed a finger to one node, zoomed in. See this? She said to Ren. That's their pulse relay carrier. If we disable it, they lose inter-fleet command. Orders? Not yet. Let them get comfortable. She leaned back. Her voice softened to a whisper. They think we're still grounded. Later that night, in her private quarters, Celine opened a secure channel. A small 3D projection shimmered above her desk. An older man with graying hair and a sharp gaze. "Hello, General Voss," she said. Her father gave her a tired smile. "You're making the call. It's time. You're sure they're ready?" She didn't hesitate. They've trained in silence for 15 years. They've simulated every possible engagement. Every jump, every malfunction, every collapse. They're not just ready. They're eager. The old general nodded. Then may the stars bend to your command, Admiral. They ended the call. And Celine sat in silence, watching the orbiting dots on her holographic screen. 60 hours remained. 60 hours until the galaxy would learn that Earth wasn't just surviving. It had evolved. 80 years ago, beneath the glacial silence of Antarctica, a mining crew struck something impossible. It wasn't metal, not in the way humanity understood it. It didn't corrode, didn't radiate heat, didn't even reflect properly in visible light. A monolithic ring buried in ice, shimmering faintly, humming like it remembered a language long dead. The moment it was uncovered, Earth's timeline diverged. In secrecy, the Terran Assembly formed Project Threshold, a black-budget division working outside planetary jurisdiction. Every nation contributed, some willingly, some reluctantly. They poured minds, machines, and generations into understanding the ancient artifact, what they came to call the Fold Core. Humanity never told the galaxy, and the galaxy never suspected. Now, in the silent black orbit behind Earth's moon, the result of that project floated in formation. 100 ships. No two were identical. Unlike the Empire's uniform designs, Terran engineers favored asymmetry and redundancy. Each vessel had dual command bridges, split power conduits, and pulse-dispersing armor that flickered across a color spectrum invisible to most species. The hulls absorbed light rather than reflected it, giving the impression of voids cut into the stars. On the bridge of the TAS Dauntless, Admiral Celine Voss stood before a tactical display, her hands clasped behind her back. "Status check," she said calmly. "Fleet 1 is locked in low-gravity orbit behind the moon," Ren replied. "Fleet 2 is ghosting Neptune's magnetosphere. Fleet 3 is prepped for point-to-point hop testing between Earth and Mars. All systems green." Celine nodded. "And the anchors?" "Stable. The fold fields are holding. We've achieved under-threshold drift variance across all ships." "Any anomalies?" Ren hesitated. "3. Small ones. One ship dropped microseconds out of sync during the last blink jump. No permanent damage." Celine glanced at him. But But if we attempt a fleet-wide blind jump, we're still talking about math so advanced it borders on sorcery. She gave a tight smile. Good. That's exactly what they'll think. 30 decks below, in the dauntless core chamber, the fold engine pulsed with eerie rhythm. Unlike fusion reactors or plasma drives, the fold engine didn't burn. It warped. It punched a hole through Einstein's rules and walked right through. Lieutenant Riva, the ship's lead fold specialist, stood in front of the containment sphere, double-checking phase harmonics. Her assistant leaned over. What happens if the sync ratio drops below threshold mid-jump? Riva didn't look up. We don't arrive. Or we arrive, spread out. Over light minutes. Right? Comforting. She smiled faintly. That's why I run triple redundancy. You want safe jumps, you run simulations. You want perfect jumps, you run faith. Above Earth, the Galactic Empire's fleet continued posturing. With ceremonial precision, destroyers arrayed themselves in shield patterns. Carriers launched patrol drones. Planetary scanning beams mapped Earth's crust like it was prey hiding in brush. Commander Telex, second in command of the Spine of Justice, approached Archduke Zelratha's observation post. "My lord," he said with a stiff bow, "the humans have issued no transmission. Their satellites have gone dark. We detect only minor energy emissions, standard planetary grids." "They're posturing," Zelrath sneered. "They want us to blink first. Shall I authorize atmospheric insertions?" "Not yet. Let them sweat." On board the Dauntless, Ren's voice cut through the bridge silence. "We just lost passive ping on 2 of the Empire's skirmishers. They've gone dark." Celine's eyes narrowed, trying to sniff us out. Probably launching stealth scouts through Saturn's rings, looking for any sign of defensive assets. "Let them." She turned toward the comm station. "Open fleet-wide secure channel." A short tone buzzed across every ship. Bridge crews froze. Officers stood at attention. In bunk halls, cafeterias, and engineering bays, eyes turned toward speakers. "This is Admiral Celine Voss. In 48 hours, the Empire will attempt full orbital lockdown of Earth and its satellites. They expect silence. They expect surrender. They believe we are still where we were a century ago." She paused. "They are wrong." The silence that followed crackled with electric tension. "We will not strike first. But when we strike, we will appear everywhere. And nowhere. You've trained for this. You've bled for this. The next phase of humanity's future does not begin in retreat. It begins now. Prepare for phantom ops. Drill schedules begin in 2 hours." The channel closed. In the shadow of Ganymede, TS Aegis blinked. It vanished from its holding position. No warp trail, no light distortion. One moment it was there. The next it was gone. 2 seconds later, it reappeared above the asteroid colony of Gliese 832c, hovered for a full breath, then blinked again, this time to the dark space above Mercury. Inside the command bay, the crew cheered softly, fists bumping, adrenaline thudding in veins. Commander El-Sayed leaned back in his chair. "Smoothest hop yet. If the Empire knew we could skip between gravitational fields like stones on a lake." His XO smiled. "They'll learn. One jump at a time." On Earth, President Imani stood at a sealed observatory in New Geneva as distant lights twinkled in the upper atmosphere. "Will it work?" she asked quietly. Beside her, Celine spoke without hesitation. "We don't need it to work perfectly. We need it to work faster than they can understand. And if it fails, then we fight like we always have. With grit. With teeth." President Imani nodded. "You've come a long way from piloting defense patrols off Mars. So has Earth." Back in orbit, Empire scout vessels pinged blank space, catching only echoes. The sensors tried to resolve mass shadows, temperature shifts, but the fold fleet wasn't there. And yet it was. Teleportation didn't just move ships, it warped presence. From one nanosecond to the next, a Terran vessel could sit undetected inside an enemy formation, scan every heat signature, and vanish before targeting systems could lock on. Celine returned to her chair. "We have 2 days," she said. "I want every squadron to run 4-point phase hop drills. Simultaneous. Every ship changes anchor points every 20 minutes. Ren frowned. "That'll strain the coils. Then we'll strain them. If this works, the Empire won't be able to pin down a single asset. They'll be fighting shadows. And if it doesn't..." Celine glanced at the tactical display. Earth, surrounded by wolves. "Then we make those shadows bleed." Darkness hung over the battlefield. Not night, but the raw, bottomless dark of space. A silence broken only by the invisible currents of energy, the background whisper of a star system turning in its gravity well. High above Earth, the Galactic Empire's fleet was in final position. 77 ships, cruisers, carriers, destroyers, war hulks. They hovered in perfect formation, precise to the millimeter, an intimidation dance honed across centuries of conquest. From the spine of justice, Archduke Zelrath stared down at the blue planet, unimpressed. "Still no response?" he asked. "None, my lord," Commander Telex replied. "No fleet movement. No defense transmissions. They're hiding," Zelrath sneered. "They're delaying, or hoping for mercy." He leaned forward. "Signal the lead dreadnoughts. Begin low-orbit burn. Lock their orbital stations. Cut the throat, then crush the heart." On the bridge of the TAS Dauntless, Celine Voss watched the red dots shift on the holographic display. "They've committed," she said. Ren stood beside her calm. "Their vanguard is moving into siege orbit. Close-range formations. Exactly where we want them." She turned to comms. "Execute Phantom Protocol." A short encrypted ping left the Dauntless, not through standard channels, but via compressed fold burst. Less than half a second later, Terran ships across the system received the command. And moved, at precisely 4:17 Universal Time Coordinated. The Empire's outer ring of ships detected a sensor anomaly. A small echo, like a ship too close to be seen directly, appeared within formation, then vanished. 3 seconds later, a blast tore through the Empire's relay carrier Vexen's reach. A lance of cutting energy ruptured its central array. The communications hub erupted in plasma, spinning off broken hull shards into the void. No warning. No ship detected. Just fire. Before the surrounding vessels could react, TS Revenant dephased a kilometer off their flank, firing point-blank with rail-guided torpedoes, then blinked out again, vanishing like it was never there. The Imperial formation fractured. "Where are they?" shouted a panic voice on the spine of Justice's command deck. "We don't see them on scope. Scan again." "Negative. No jump signatures. No FTL trace." Zelrath slammed a fist on the console. "Ships don't just appear. They must be cloaking. Find them." But they weren't cloaking. Not in the conventional sense. They were skipping. Back on the Dauntless, Celine remained perfectly composed. "Phase strike 1 complete," Ren confirmed. "Relay carrier is gone. Their communications net is disrupted. Targeting systems across their fleet are scrambling." Celine gave a single nod. "Proceed to phase strike 2. Hit their flanks. Keep moving. Never reappear in the same spot twice." The human fleet fractured. Ships blinked from one orbital layer to another, reappearing just long enough to strike, then vanishing into fold space. TAS Phantom appeared inside the blind arc of the Helion trireme, shredded its stabilizers, and phased out before the enemy guns could even warm up. TAS Vortex ripped a hole in an Empire carrier bay, dropping antimatter charges as it disappeared. TAS Dauntless didn't move. It observed. Celine needed to see how Zelrath reacted. "Admiral," The Virex hammer just lost propulsion. Plasma detonation across 3 decks. Are we under stealth missile attack? No trails. No launch points. These aren't missiles, they're ships. But we can't track them. Zelrath stood frozen, expression stone. His empire had fought wars across 1,000 systems. Rebellions, pirate enclaves, rogue AI uprisings. Nothing had ever hit them without being seen. Until now. He turned sharply. Deploy plasma mines across local orbit. Every angle. Fill the sky. Flush them out. The Terran fleet adapted instantly. The mines slowed their aggression, forcing jumps to new axes and anchor points. But Selene had anticipated this. Order all jump coordinators to run 4-dimensional variable jumps, she said. Ren blinked. That'll push the fold engines near redline. Good. Let's make them think we broke physics. Near the rings of Mars, TAS Dagger jumped to a mirrored anchor point, slingshotting back toward Earth with inverted inertia. It appeared for 1.4 seconds behind the crown of Holith, a monstrous war barge, and dropped a gravitic disruptor that turned the ship's artificial gravity into liquefying force. The war barge cracked in half, screaming metal drowning out transmission feeds. One of the Empire's fleet captains sent a desperate message. They're not fighting. They're everywhere. Like ghosts. On the Dauntless, Selene exhaled slowly. The Empire was panicking. They hadn't even located a single Terran vessel long enough to fire effectively. Begin Phase Strike 3, she said. Heavy capital targets. Minimum dwell time. If it glows red, blind it. Back on the spine of Justice, flames licked across hollow screens. Losses at 17%, Telex reported, his voice tight. We can't calculate vectors. They're engines. They're doing things beyond jump space logic. They're breaking rules, Zelrath hissed. So we break them harder. Charge the spinal cannon. Target the Earth's surface. Sir? If they want a shadow war, let's turn on the sun. Telex hesitated. But the Accord? Do it. Selene's eyes sharpened. Their main cannon is powering. They're going to fire on the planet. Ren looked up. They'd violate 1,000 galactic laws. They're losing. Desperation always comes before atrocity. She turned to the helm. Fold the Dauntless now. Destination? Right down their throat. Dauntless jumped. Not near the spine of Justice. Inside its firing radius. The jump destabilized local gravity, scattering the Empire's energy grid. Terran cannon batteries opened fire at 0 range, targeting the spinal cannon's heat containment modules. A thunderous rupture followed. The spinal cannon exploded, ripping the spine of Justice's nose open in a molten breach. Zelrath was thrown across the bridge. Sirens screamed. Fires erupted. The Dauntless blinked away again, untouched. On the Dauntless, Ren turned to Selene, eyes wide. They're burning. You just took down their flagship. Selene didn't smile. Send the message to the Empire. What message? She stepped forward, voice steady. This is Admiral Voss of Earth. Your siege is over. You have 30 minutes to withdraw, or we will erase every ship in orbit. The next time we appear, we won't leave survivors. For the first time in living memory, the Galactic Empire's fleet didn't reply. They didn't move. They simply froze, surrounded by ghosts. Terran ghosts. And for the first time, the galaxy saw Earth not as a backwater species, but as the storm. In the deep silence of the Orion Nebula, the stars burned like scattered embers in a dark sea. Massive gas clouds rolled across the void, brilliant and slow, cloaking entire fleets behind ribbons of cosmic mist. It was here that the Galactic Empire chose to regroup. Scarred, shaken, and cornered, what remained of the Outer Dominion Armada drifted in scattered formation. Wounded cruisers, silent dreadnoughts, and broken chains of command. At the center of it all, The crippled spine of Justice floated half alive, power flickering across shattered decks, repair drones working furiously to seal the gaping wound left by the dauntless strike. Archduke Zelrath stood among the ruins of his command bridge. The ceiling had collapsed inward, exposing beams and flickering holoscreens. His right eye had been replaced with a temporary bionic patch, crudely grafted on by the medics. His silver uniform was torn, one side burned to black. But his voice was unchanged. "Call her," he ordered. "Sir?" Telex asked, limping beside him. "Admiral Celine Voss. Open a line. Secure. Direct. Now." On the Dauntless, a sharp chime cut through the command deck. Ren checked the signal, then turned to Celine. "It's him. Direct frequency. No encryption. No demands." Celine raised an eyebrow. "Just him. Just him. Put it through." A shimmering window opened before her. The Archduke's battered face appeared, haloed in emergency red light. Even broken, he radiated menace. "You've embarrassed my fleet," Zelrath said. "My house will not forget this." Celine's face remained unreadable. "Your house is scattered across 3 orbital fields. You're proud of this chaos?" "No," she replied. "I'm proud of how little it cost us." His lip curled. "Your ships jump around like insects, not warriors, illusions. You mistake unpredictability for cowardice. That's your species' problem." A beat of silence. "Do you know what I see when I look at your kind?" he asked. "I imagine something unoriginal. Desperation. Fast learners, yes, but always running. Always building weapons you don't understand. Technology without culture. Fire without control." Celine leaned forward. "And do you know what I see when I look at yours? Arrogance that has calcified into doctrine. You stopped evolving centuries ago. We're not fast because we're desperate. We're fast because we choose to be." His eye narrowed. "Then let's finish this," Zelrath said. "No more hit and run. No more tricks. One last battle. My fleet. Your fleet. Above Orion. No jumps. No hiding." Celine tilted her head. "You want a duel? I want a war the old way. I thought you hated our tactics." "I do. Which is why you won't use them this time." Celine studied the feed for a moment. Then she smiled. 6 hours later, the nebula burned. Terran ships dropped from fold space one by one. Dauntless, Revenant, Phantom, Aegis, Vortex, forming a tight half-sphere formation across the nebula's southern edge. No jumps. No disappearing. Every vessel visible. Hulls gleaming. Weapons hot. Across from them, the Empire had rallied. 42 operational ships now hovered in full battle posture, arc formations locked, lances charged. A desperate stand, but still dangerous. On the Dauntless, Celine stood on the bridge, watching the standoff unfold. She could feel the weight of silence before a storm, sharp, almost metallic. "Telemetry locked?" she asked. "Locked. Target patterns distributed across squadrons. And jump protocols? Disabled. As ordered." Ren approached quietly. "You trust him to fight fair?" "No," she replied. "But he's a warlord. He wants a personal legacy. That means he needs to win with honor. You think he's desperate enough to die for that? I think he knows he already lost. This is about memory now." Ren nodded. "Then let's write the ending." The battle erupted like a ruptured sun. Empire ships moved first, closing the gap with calculated formations, leading with heavy dreadnoughts while cruisers flanked wide. Plasma lances carved neon arcs across the void, slamming into Terran shields, forcing formation breaks. The Crown of Daxel led the charge, its forward cannon hammering through 2 Terran interceptors before a return volley gutted its side engines. Celine issued orders with surgical precision. Squad 2, sweep wide, rake fire along their flanks. Phantom, Go for that carrier's core. Do not re-engage without confirmation of kill. The sky turned red and white. Unlike previous strikes, Earth's fleet didn't disappear. They stood and fought. No teleportation, no ghost tactics, but their movements were still faster, tighter, more fluid. TAS Vortex spiraled around the burning Empire's edge, dodging lances before slicing its bridge module in half. TAS Revenant took a brutal hit to its port side, but counter-fired point-blank, taking 3 enemy craft down with it. In the middle of the chaos, the Dauntless punched forward, plowing through debris and shredded hulls, heading straight for the spine of justice. "Bring us within 1,000 meters, Celine ordered. Ren stared at her. "That's a death zone. He wants a duel," she said. "Let's give it to him." The spine responded, moving to intercept. As the ships aligned, broadside to broadside, Celine opened the comms channel again. Zelrath appeared, blood running from his temple, holding onto a rail with one gauntlet hand. "I've never seen humans fight like this," he admitted. "You've changed." "No," Celine said. "We just stopped asking for permission." He laughed, not mockingly, almost impressed. "Then we'll end this as warriors." Agreed. Both ships fired simultaneously. The Dauntless frontal cannons opened in a blinding white flash, tearing into the spine's weakened hull. The spine returned fire, breaching the Dauntless lower decks. Alarms blared. Sparks flew. Systems shorted out. Celine didn't flinch. "Keep targeting his core." 10 seconds. 20. 60. Fire bloomed between them. Then, suddenly, the spine of Justice's engines failed. Its lights flickered. Fires consumed half its midsection. The Dauntless held position, venting atmosphere from its aft wing, but alive. Zelrath appeared on the screen again, coughing. He was kneeling now. "You should finish it," he said hoarsely. "End the line." Celine didn't respond immediately. "You brought this on yourself," she said. "I did," he whispered. "But I never expected this. A fleet that could fight like that." She stepped closer to the console. "Remember what you saw today. Not just defeat. Change. This galaxy is moving on, with or without you." He smiled bitterly. "Then kill me before I have to see it." But Celine cut the feed. "Order ceasefire," she said. "We've made our point." The Imperial fleet fell back, leaderless and stunned. The Terran fleet held formation, battered but proud. Above Orion, amidst burning wrecks and stardust, humanity had won a battle no one thought they could survive. By fighting their enemy's way, and still winning.
The Orion battlefield smoldered in silence. Wreckage drifted through the nebula like war ghosts. Silent, scorched, some still flickering with failing power. Terran ships, scarred and scorched, held their lines. They didn't celebrate. They didn't lower shields. They watched. Because it wasn't over. Not yet. Aboard the TS Dauntless, Admiral Celine Voss stood before the shattered forward viewport. The edges were cracked. Reinforced glass bowed from impact, but it held. Beyond it, the spine of Justice floated aimlessly, its engines dead, its hull venting pale blue gas into space. Celine didn't blink. She watched the enemy vessel until she was certain it wouldn't rise again. Ren approached, a datapad in hand. "Confirmed," he said. "Empire fleet is retreating. What's left of it? Any pursuit orders from High Command?" "None. They're calling it strategic containment. We've already won." Celine nodded slowly, but her jaw stayed tight. "They'll be back." Ren lowered his voice. "But next time we won't be underestimated." Back on Earth, the Terran assembly convened in Unity Spire, an obsidian needle piercing the clouds above New Geneva. President Imani stood before the global holofeed, her face solemn, her voice steady. Today Earth was tested. Not in secret, not on distant moons, but on the stage of the galaxy. We were challenged by an empire older than our recorded history. We did not beg. We did not yield. We fought. The message echoed in every outpost, colony, and orbital habitat. In doing so, we did not destroy the future. We rewrote it. Aboard the crippled spine of justice, Archduke Zelrath sat in what was left of his command chamber. The fire suppression systems hissed around him, filling the air with chemical haze. Medical bots swarmed, repairing tissue, sealing burns. He waved them off. He'd lived through planetary rebellions, through civil wars, through orbital sieges that crushed whole civilizations. But nothing had shaken him like this. His second-in-command, Telex, limped in. The High Council has recalled us to the core. They want answers. Zelrath didn't respond. They're calling it a defeat. It was, he muttered. But not because of tactics. Telex hesitated. Then why? Zelrath stared at a still image of the Dauntless, recorded moments before the final barrage. Because we were taught Earth was a curiosity. Child with toys. But she. His words trailed off. Telex waited. What message shall I deliver? Zelrath's voice was low, almost reverent. Tell them the humans are no longer becoming. They are. In orbit over Luna, Terran shipyards hummed with renewed energy. What had been hidden projects were now the backbone of a new doctrine. Fold core designs were greenlit for mass production. Upgrades rolled out to every outer ring patrol ship. The fear was gone. In its place, momentum. On board the Dauntless, Captain Wren met Celine outside the core observation deck. They're calling you the Ghost Admiral now, he said with a wry smile. I preferred Voss. Well, the colonies have already sent their offers. The Martian Provisional Senate wants to name a new defense ring after the fleet. I hope it's one that works, she replied dryly. He handed her a tablet. Transmission just arrived. Priority seal. From the Galactic High Council. Not the Empire. The Council. Celine's eyes flicked over the opening line. Admiral Celine Voss, representative of the Terran Assembly. The Council acknowledges the outcome of the Orion engagement. We invite Earth to formal diplomatic talks regarding border autonomy, technological parity, and membership revision under Concord Statute 9. She read the last sentence twice. They're offering us a seat, she said, voice low. Wren whistled. From observer to equal. Just like that. No, not just like that, she said. It took ships, fire, and blood. She stared out at the stars. But now they see us. Back in her quarters, Celine sat alone, boots off, uniform jacket folded neatly over a chair. The adrenaline had faded. The silence settled in. The ache of choices weighed heavier now than ever before. Her private comm buzzed. She answered without looking. General Voss, she said softly. Her father's face filled the screen. Older now, grayer since the last call. I saw the broadcast. The whole system lit up when the news hit. They're calling it a turning point. Maybe, she replied. Or just the start of another game. He studied her face. You did what I couldn't. She didn't respond. He continued, gentler now. You knew the only way forward was to speak their language. Force. Precision. And you didn't blink. I blinked, she said. I just didn't stop. 3 days later, in the Tau Ceti system, the first new Terran diplomatic ship arrived. TS Concordia, folded from orbit to station in under 8 seconds. The dock master, a Jernari diplomat with 4 eyes and a skeptical soul, watched it appear without a sound. No ripple. No warning. Just there. Humans, he muttered. They've learned to disappear. And now to return. In the heart of the galactic map, pins shifted. Old lines blurred. Trade corridors rerouted. And across countless star systems, small worlds whispered Earth's name with a new tone. Not caution, not pity, but possibility. Because Earth no longer needed validation. It had proven itself through fire. Not with permission, but by arrival,